All right, let's get into our explainer on Bitcoin SV. It's a really interesting one because, it's a digital currency that seems to exist in two completely different worlds at the exact same time. On one hand, you've got this community of true believers who see a revolutionary technology. It's poised to change the world. But on the other hand, you have a pretty skeptical market that mostly just sees a ton of volatility and controversy. This slide really captures that split-screen reality perfectly. So yeah, BSV is a project that's pretty much defined by this paradox, and today we're going to unpack both sides of it. So to really understand the believer side of the equation, we need to look at the core technological promise. And that all comes down to this idea of streamable money.
So what is that? Well, this concept, which is only possible because of BSV's super low transaction fees, is all about transforming how we pay for, well, basically everything. Think about it for a second. Right now, we're kind of stuck with these clunky, delayed monthly payments. The idea here is that money could flow in real time, just like data, matching your exact usage right down to the second.
The thinking behind this is pretty grand, actually. The argument from proponents is that just as physical coins propelled humanity forward, by making value easy to exchange, this new form of digital money could spark a whole new era of economic growth by making value completely fluid. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because you can see how this could change everyday life. I mean, imagine paying for a movie by the second, or a freelancer getting paid the very instant a task is done. It's a fundamental shift away from monthly bills to paying for exactly what you use right when you use it. And this quote just illustrates the human impact brilliantly. You see that term on-chain there? All that means is that the data is recorded directly and publicly on the blockchain for everyone to see. So when platforms like the NFT marketplace 3D use these on-chain micropayments, they empower creators in a totally new way. This quote from its founder, it paints a picture of a future where artists are supported directly by their community through these tiny, constant streams of income. Okay, but that amazing vision? It doesn't exist in a bubble. To understand the other side of this whole paradox, you absolutely have to look at the controversial figure right at the center of the project. For years, this claim has been the defining story, the main narrative around Bitcoin SV. Dr. Craig Wright has consistently maintained that he is the person behind the original Bitcoin white paper.
But in early 2024, a court delivered a verdict that sent absolute shockwaves through the community. After a very long trial, a British judge made a clear and really definitive ruling on this whole matter.
And the court's judgment was crystal clear. The judge didn't mince words, finding that documents that were presented as evidence had been forged and that Wright's testimony was simply not truthful. This ruling was a huge moment in this long-running saga. And that ruling, well, it's really just one part of a much bigger story of legal and market consequences that seem to constantly surround this project. I mean, take the Tulip Trading case, for example. This is a landmark lawsuit that asks a really fundamental question. Do software developers have a legal duty to help users recover lost cryptocurrency? The implications of this are massive, and not just for BSV, but for the entire crypto space. So at first, a court said no, basically finding that developers don't owe that kind of duty. But then, an appeals court came in and overturned that decision, arguing that, actually, it is a serious issue that deserves a full trial. And that reversal, it created some significant legal uncertainty for developers not just in BSV, but really across all of crypto.
And here is the really crucial point. All this courtroom drama plays out directly in the market. Those volatile price spikes you see, they're often a direct reaction to legal news. This is what creates that high volatility and that deep skepticism that makes traders see speculation instead of any kind of stable growth.
So, all of this brings us to right now, to the future of BSV, which is really defined by this constant tension between its technology on one side and its reputation on the other. Now, on the technology side, the project is pushing forward with a pretty ambitious roadmap. You'll notice 3 key steps here. First is the Chronicle upgrade. That's a hard fork, which is basically a mandatory software update for the entire network, and it's scheduled for 2026. The goal, as you see in step 2, is protocol restoration. This just means they're re-enabling original opcodes, think of them like command functions in Bitcoin script, which they believe will unlock more complex applications. And really, this all serves that third point, creating a stable, predictable protocol that can attract serious enterprise users. But all of that leaves us with this final, really provocative question that I think encapsulates the entire paradox of Bitcoin SV. Can the promise of its technology, this whole idea of streamable money, can it ever truly separate itself from the controversy that has defined its history? That, right there, remains the essential question.